Netflix series Trial by Fire was tragedy at Uphaar Cinema, the deadly fire of 1997. The fire at the Uphaar Cinema was one of the worst in recent Indian history. The fire broke out on Friday, 13th June 1997, at the Uphaar Cinema in Green Park, Delhi, during a 3 o'clock screening of the film Border. 59 people died of asphyxiation, suffocation, while trapped inside, and 103 were seriously injured in the ensuing stampede. The larger of 2 transformers installed and maintained by DVB on the ground floor of the Uphaar Cinema building caught fire on 13th June 1997, around 6:55 am. Sudhir Kumar, a security guard, heard an explosion around 7 am and discovered smoke in the transformer room. The fire department and the Delhi Vidyut Board, DVB, were notified, and the fire was put out by 7:25 am. The inspection of the transformer by the DVB Superintendent and his team revealed that 3 of the transformer's low-tension cable leads had been partially burned. At approximately 10:30 am, DVB and Senior Fitter inspectors performed transformer repairs by replacing 2 aluminium sockets on the B phase of the low-tension cable leads. The repairs appear to have been completed using a die and hammer rather than a crimping machine. DVB finished their repairs between 10:30 and 11 am. By 11:30 am on 13th June 1997, the transformer had been recharged and the power had been restored. It is claimed that repairs performed on the transformer earlier in the day were inadequate, resulting in loose connections that caused sparking on the B phase of the transformers. As a result, one of the transformer's cables became loose and began dangling loose along with the radiator, eventually burning a hole in the radiator fin. The transformer oil began leaking through this hole, and the heat generated by the loose cable touching the radiator ignited the oil around 4:55 pm on 13th June 1997. Because the transformer lacked an oil soak pit, as required by regulations and standard practice, the oil that leaked from the enclosure spread the fire to the adjacent parking lot, where cars were parked no more than a meter from the transformer's door. As a result, all of the cars parked in the cinema hall's parking lot on the ground floor caught fire. Smoke began to billow from the cinema complex's parking lot in both the north and south directions. The northern-bound smoke came across a gate next to a staircase leading to the cinema auditorium on the first floor. The smoke gushed into the stairwell due to the chimney effect and eventually entered the cinema auditorium through a door and the air conditioning ducts. Southbound smoke traveled similarly aerially through another staircase and into the lower portion of the auditorium's balcony from the left side. All of this occurred while a large crowd was seated in the auditorium watching the matinee screening of Border, a popular Hindi film with a patriotic theme. People in the auditorium began to suffocate as a result of the smoke and carbon monoxide released by the burning oil and other combustible material. At the relevant time, the shift in charge of the DVB's Green Park Complaints Center received a telephonic message regarding the fire. Only then was the AIMS grid, to which the transformer was connected, turned off, and the flow of energy to the cinema complex ceased. According to the prosecution, at 5:05 pm, the supply of the 11 kV outgoing Green Park feeder tripped. As a result, the cinema's energy supply is cut off. There was complete chaos inside the auditorium and balcony. People on the balcony are said to have rushed to the exits in complete darkness because there were no emergency lights or cinema staff to assist or guide them. Despite the fact that the management and employees of the Uphaar Cinema were aware of the fire, no public announcement was made to those inside the auditorium or the balcony, nor were any fire alarms activated. Even the projector operator was not told to stop the film while the fire was raging, and no patron was informed of the situation outside. On the contrary, The gatekeeper, who had left his post without handing over command to his reliever, discovered the doors to the balcony's middle entrance bolted. More importantly, the addition of a private 8-seater box had completely blocked the gangway on the right side of the balcony, as had the addition of a total of 52 extra seats over the years. Similarly, the gangway to the right of the middle entrance was much narrower than the regulations required. All of these impediments, deviations, violations, and deficiencies had trapped the victims in the balcony for at least 10 to 15 minutes, exposing them to lethal carbon monoxide, to which as many as 59 persons eventually succumbed. Off-duty Capt Manjinder Singh Bhinder of the Indian Army's 61st Cavalry and a talented horse rider, who was out celebrating his success at a recent national games with his family, and a junior officer at the movie theatre, risked his and his family's lives to save over 150 people. Initially rushing out with his family, he and his people returned inside and attempted to restore order and guide people out to safety, realizing the gravity of the unfolding tragedy. Fire services were delayed due to heavy evening traffic, and the cinema hall's location in one of South Delhi's busiest areas. At least 48 fire tenders were called in at 5:20 p.m., and it took them more than an hour to put out the fire. Later, the dead and injured were rushed to the nearby AIIMS and Safdarjung Hospital, where scenes of chaos and pandemonium ensued as relatives and family members of the victims scurried around looking for known faces. Causes and fire violations. The Law Commission of India, the Delhi Fire Department, the Naresh Kumar Committee, the DVB Commissioner of Police, and the CBI conducted investigations and discovered a number of fire code violations, including: there is no working public address system, no announcement was made when the fire broke out. There are no emergency lights, footlights, or exit lights. The cinema hall was in pitch darkness when the fire broke out. Obstructed gangways. The hall had made unauthorized extensions and additions to seats. Obstructed exits. Many exit doors, including the one leading to the terrace, and gates were locked. Unauthorized use of property. Shops were being run from spaces supposed to be empty. Installation and maintenance of the DVA transformer, the source of the fire, in violation of Indian electricity rules. No periodic maintenance, no fire extinguishers, no isolation device, haphazard electrical cables. Final verdict. On 19 August 2015, the Supreme Court of India imposed a fine of 30 crores on the Ansal brothers, ruling that if they pay the fine, their jail terms will be reduced to the term already served if they pay the fine. The court ruled that the absence of a trauma center at the nearby AIIMS hospital contributed to the incident's high death toll. However, the families of the victims have criticized this decision. The brothers were sentenced to 7 years in prison and fined 2.25 crore, $280,000 each by a Delhi court in November 2021 for tampering with evidence. Trial by Fire by Prashant Nair, starring Rajashri Deshpande, Abhay Deol, Rajesh Telang, Ashish Vidyarthi, Anupam Kher, Ratna Pathak, Shilpa Shukla, and Shardul Bharadwaj, is based on the Uphaar Cinema's fire and tells the story of a couple who lost their 2 children in the Uphaar Fire Theatre. The series will focus on their trials and tribulations as they sought justice more than 20 years later. The story will depict the aftermath of the fire as well as the impact it had on the victims' families.